Most people believe greatness is some magical gift. They think it's reserved for the chosen few, the talented, the lucky, the privileged. But let me tell you the untold truth. Greatness is not given. It's not inherited. It's not granted by fate. Greatness is created. It's built brick by brick through decisions, discipline, and the courage to keep going when everyone else stops. The world will tell you, wait until the timing is right. Wait until you're ready. Wait until you've got the perfect plan. That's a lie. The truth is, the right moment is never coming. The conditions will never be perfect. The stars will never align for you. Greatness doesn't wait for permission. It is born the moment you decide you're no longer willing to live small. Think about it. Every person who's achieved something extraordinary wasn't ready. They didn't have the resources. They didn't have the blueprint, but they had the hunger. And hunger will beat talent every single time. Hunger will make you knock on doors until your knuckles bleed. Hunger will keep you awake at night chasing that vision when everyone else is sleeping comfortably. Hunger is the birthplace of greatness. And let me be clear, it's not about achieving more than others. Greatness isn't about competition. It's about breaking your own limits. It's about becoming more today than you were yesterday. It's about looking in the mirror and knowing you didn't waste your potential, that you didn't settle for average, that you squeezed every ounce of possibility out of your life. But here's the challenge. Most people don't fail because they're not capable. They fail because they let fear and comfort control their lives. Fear whispers, what if you fail? Comfort says, why bother? It's fine the way it is. And that's how people trade their dreams for excuses. The truth is, greatness demands sacrifice. It demands that you walk away from distractions, from toxic influences, from the version of you that loves comfort more than growth. It asks for your sweat, your focus, your persistence. And in return, it gives you a life that most people only dream about. The untold truth about achieving greatness is this: it's not about waiting, it's about acting. It's not about hoping, it's about creating. It's not about what you get, it's about who you become. When you stop running from fear and instead use it as fuel, when you stop waiting for the perfect plan and instead take massive imperfect action, when you stop asking for permission and instead claim the life you were meant to live, that's when greatness shows up. So don't ask yourself if you're ready. Ask yourself if you're hungry. Don't ask if the conditions are perfect. Ask if you're willing to act in spite of the imperfection. And don't ask if you can do it. Ask yourself if you're willing to pay the price. Because if you are, if you're truly committed, then greatness is not just possible for you, it's inevitable. Greatness is not given. It is created through hunger, discipline, and relentless action. And if you really want to understand this truth, you have to strip away the illusions you've been sold about what it takes to succeed, because the world loves to glorify natural talent, luck, and opportunity as if they are the sole ingredients of achievement. But the reality is that the ones who rise above the crowd are not simply born with advantages. They are individuals who cultivate a fire inside them, a hunger so deep it refuses to be ignored. And that hunger is what forces them to keep going long after others have quit. It's what wakes them up when their body wants to sleep. It's what pushes them to stay focused when distraction surrounds them. It's what whispers to them in moments of doubt that there is more. There is always more if they are willing to demand it from themselves. This hunger is not polite. It's not comfortable. It's raw and restless. It gnaws at you until you either feed it or settle into mediocrity. And that's where discipline comes in, because hunger without discipline burns out quickly. It becomes wasted energy, scattered ambition. But when hunger is married to discipline, it becomes unstoppable. Because discipline is the structure, it's the framework that channels raw desire into consistent forward motion. It's the decision to take action, whether you feel like it or not. It's the promise you keep to yourself even when no one is watching. It's doing the work when the applause is gone, when the excitement has faded, when the novelty has worn off. It's the silent grind that builds the foundation for everything others will later call greatness. And relentless action is where the magic happens, because you can dream, you can plan, you can visualize, but none of it matters unless you step into motion. And not just once, not just when it feels exciting, but again and again, day after day, year after year, because greatness is not a single victory. It's the accumulation of countless small wins. It's the resilience to rise after every fall. It's the courage to try again after every failure. It's the refusal to accept that temporary setbacks define you. And relentless action means you keep moving forward even when progress feels invisible, because every repetition, every practice, every attempt builds something inside you that can never be taken away. Most people never taste greatness because they are waiting for conditions to be perfect. They think they need more resources, more time, more knowledge before they start, But the truth is you don't need more. You need to use what you already have with full commitment, because action creates momentum. Momentum creates opportunities, and opportunities create the path to mastery. The untold truth is that greatness is not about being chosen. It's about choosing yourself every single day, refusing to wait for permission, refusing to wait for validation, refusing to wait until you feel ready, because the moment you begin to act, you start building a version of yourself that others can't ignore. When you combine hunger, discipline, and relentless action, you separate yourself from the masses, because the masses dabble. They want comfort more than challenge. They chase motivation instead of building habits. They stop when it gets hard. But those who achieve greatness are the ones who lean into the hard moments, who see obstacles as training, who understand that pressure is the price of growth. They don't shrink when fear shows up. They don't fold when rejection hits. They don't quit when fatigue sets in. They keep going because their hunger is stronger than their excuses. Their discipline is stronger than their moods, and their relentless action creates results that others call impossible. The truth is you don't need to be the smartest, the fastest, or the most talented. You just need to be the one who refuses to stop, the one who shows up again and again, the one who decides that comfort will not steal your future. And when you live like that, greatness stops being a distant dream and becomes your daily reality, because every choice, every action, every sacrifice compounds into a life that embodies the very definition of extraordinary. Waiting for the perfect moment is the biggest lie. Greatness begins when you decide to act now, because every single day people postpone their dreams, waiting for conditions that will never come. They say they'll start when the timing is right, when they have more money, when they have more support, when they have more clarity. But the reality is there will never be a perfect time. The conditions will never align in flawless harmony. And if you continue waiting for that magical moment, you will wait your entire life while your potential slowly rots away inside you. The truth is that action creates clarity, not the other way around. You don't get confidence and then act. You act and confidence shows up. You don't get certainty and then begin. You begin and certainty builds through momentum. Yet most people trap themselves in the illusion of preparation. They keep reading, planning, overthinking, waiting for some sign that the time is now. And because of that hesitation, they never tap into their true capability. They let fear disguise itself as logic. They let procrastination dress up as patience. And before they know it, their chance has passed. Not because they weren't capable, but because they never stepped forward. Greatness has always been built by imperfect people taking imperfect action in imperfect situations. The heroes we admire, the innovators we celebrate, the leaders we follow, none of them had ideal conditions when they started. Most were unprepared, under-resourced, uncertain. But what separated them was their willingness to step forward anyway, to stumble forward if necessary, to learn while moving instead of waiting for flawless plans. And this is where most people misunderstand success. It isn't about being ready. It's about being willing. It's about saying yes to the unknown and figuring it out on the way. Think about how many dreams have died in the graveyard of hesitation. How many people had a spark of brilliance but buried it under layers of excuses? How many could have built something extraordinary but chose comfort instead of courage? The world is full of people who say someday, but someday is not a date on the calendar. Someday is an illusion that keeps you trapped. The only real time you have is now, and greatness only reveals itself when you have the courage to seize the moment, to stop waiting, to stop overthinking, and to start doing. Yes, the first steps will be messy. Yes, you will make mistakes. Yes, people will doubt you. Yes, you will doubt yourself. But those are not signs to stop. They are signs that you are alive, that you are moving, that you are daring to step into the arena while others sit safely in the stands. Every stumble is data. Every mistake is feedback. Every setback is training. And with each step, you get stronger. You get wiser. You get sharper, until what once felt impossible becomes natural. And none of that growth would have happened if you had kept waiting for the perfect moment. The lie of waiting for perfection is seductive because it feels safe. It gives you permission to delay. It makes you feel justified in your inaction. But deep down, you know it's a trap, because every time you say not yet, a piece of your spirit withers. Every time you delay the thing you know you should do, you weaken the muscle of courage. Every time you choose comfort over action, you reinforce a habit that keeps you small, and greatness cannot coexist with small habits. Greatness is fed by bold moves, by decisive action, by the willingness to leap before you are ready. When you finally understand that the perfect moment is a myth, you liberate yourself, because you stop waiting for life to hand you permission, and instead you create your own momentum. You take the meeting even if you're nervous. You launch the project even if you're unsure. You speak up even if your voice shakes, And every time you choose action over hesitation, you build a new identity, the identity of someone who doesn't wait, someone who doesn't settle, someone who steps into uncertainty with courage. And that identity is what attracts opportunities, resources, and people who align with your vision. History will never remember the ones who waited until conditions were perfect. It will only remember the ones who dared to act when everything was against them, the ones who understood that the clock is ticking and life does not slow down, the ones who refused to let fear dictate their decisions, the ones who treated now as the only time that matters because it is the only time that matters. And once you realize that, you stop making excuses, you stop hiding behind preparation, and you start living in a way that demands greatness from yourself. Greatness begins not in perfection, but in the decision to move forward in spite of imperfection. And once you embrace that truth, you stop waiting for the right time and start creating the right time through your action. You realize that the power has always been in your hands, not in the circumstances, not in the timing, not in the approval of others, but in your choice to act now and keep acting until the world can no longer deny the force of who you are becoming. Fear and comfort are the biggest enemies of your potential. They are the silent killers that rob more dreams than failure ever could, because failure at least teaches, failure at least moves you forward. But fear and comfort keep you paralyzed in the same place year after year, whispering lies that sound convincing enough to trap even the strongest minds. Fear tells you that you are not ready, that you might embarrass yourself, that you will be rejected, that you will lose. And comfort tells you that where you are is good enough, that you don't need to stretch, that risk is unnecessary, that safety is smarter. But if you listen to those voices long enough, you'll realize you've built a cage around your life and thrown away the key. Fear is natural. It's hardwired into your biology. It was designed to keep you alive, to stop you from stepping into danger. But in the modern world, fear doesn't just protect you, it suffocates you. It keeps you from taking the actions that would change everything. It exaggerates the risks in your mind until they feel bigger than they are, and it minimizes the cost of staying the same until you forget that stagnation is its own kind of death. People think fear is a sign to stop, but the truth is fear is the clearest sign that you're heading towards something meaningful, because you don't feel fear when you're doing something ordinary. You feel it when you're about to stretch beyond your limits. Comfort is even more deceptive because it doesn't shout, it whispers. It tells you that you've earned a break, that you've done enough, that you can try tomorrow. It seduces you with ease, with routine, with predictability, and slowly it convinces you that growth is optional, that you can live a fulfilling life without ever challenging yourself. But deep down, you know comfort is a trap, because the longer you stay in it, the weaker you become, like a muscle that atrophies from lack of use. The longer you choose comfort over growth, the less capable you are of handling life when real challenges inevitably come. And then you find yourself not only unfulfilled, but also unprepared. The greatest tragedy is that people don't realize how much they've surrendered to fear and comfort until it's too late, until they wake up one day filled with regret, asking themselves where the time went, wondering why they never chased that dream, why they never spoke up, why they never dared to step outside the familiar. They look back and realize it wasn't lack of talent, it wasn't lack of opportunity, it was their own acceptance of a smaller life. And that realization is painful because there is no way to go back and reclaim the years that fear and comfort stole from them. But the moment you choose to confront fear and reject comfort is the moment your life begins to expand. When you stop running from fear and start facing it head on, you discover it loses its power. You realize fear was never a wall. It was only a shadow, and shadows disappear the moment you shine light on them. The moment you step into the thing you're afraid of, you grow stronger. You gain confidence. You build resilience. And you start to trust yourself in ways you never did before. And when you step out of comfort, you may feel pain at first. You may feel exposed and vulnerable. But that discomfort is the exact environment where growth takes root. It's the resistance that builds strength. It's the challenge that forges character. Every breakthrough in history has come from people who refused to bow to fear and refused to settle into comfort. They took risks others weren't willing to take. They faced rejection, ridicule, and doubt, but they kept moving forward because they understood that nothing extraordinary can be born inside a comfort zone. Greatness requires risk. It requires uncertainty. It requires you to dance with fear instead of running from it, because fear will always be there waiting at the edge of your growth. But if you learn to see fear as fuel instead of a stop sign, then it becomes your ally. It becomes the compass pointing you toward the areas of your life that matter most. Comfort will try to tell you that you can wait, that you don't need to push today, that tomorrow is safer, but tomorrow never comes for those who keep delaying. Comfort is the great deceiver that keeps people locked in jobs they hate, relationships that drain them, lifestyles that don't challenge them, all because they are afraid of losing not realizing that by clinging to comfort, they are losing everything they could ever become. Comfort feels good in the moment, but it steals the future. And the more you let it dictate your choices, the more invisible chains it wraps around your life until you forget you even had the ability to break free. When you finally choose to step outside of fear and comfort, you ignite potential that has been dormant inside you. You begin to see yourself differently. You begin to trust your own power. And that shift is what allows you to create, to innovate, to lead, to impact others in ways that staying safe never could. The fear doesn't disappear, but your courage grows bigger than the fear. The comfort doesn't vanish, but your hunger grows stronger than the need for ease. And every time you make that choice, you reclaim another piece of your power, another piece of the greatness that has been waiting for you all along. The untold truth is that fear and comfort will always be present, but they don't have to rule your life. They only win when you obey them. They only win when you believe their lies. But the moment you decide that fear is simply a signpost and comfort is simply a trap, you stop being their prisoner and you start becoming the person you were always meant to be, a person who chooses growth over safety, courage over excuses, and expansion over limitation. Greatness demands sacrifice. It demands that you give up the things that keep you small, the distractions that eat away at your focus, the excuses that feel comfortable in the moment but steal years from your life, and the version of yourself that chooses short-term pleasure over long-term fulfillment. Because the truth is you cannot hold on to average and expect to live extraordinary. You cannot cling to comfort and expect to rise. You cannot keep feeding weakness and expect to grow strong. Greatness has a price, and that price is paid in the currency of sacrifice. And most people want greatness, but they don't want to give up anything to get it. They want the results without the discipline. They want the recognition without the grind. They want the lifestyle without the cost. But life does not work that way. Every dream has a cost attached to it. Every goal requires something from you. It might be your time, your energy, your old identity, your toxic relationships, your limiting beliefs. But you will always have to trade something if you want to step into the next level. And the bigger the dream, the greater the sacrifice it demands. The sacrifice means waking up earlier when your body craves more sleep. It means staying focused when your mind wants distraction. It means saying no to parties, temptations, and easy escapes so you can say yes to the work that matters. It means giving up instant gratification so you can build something permanent. It means choosing discipline when others choose excuses. And that choice repeated day after day is what builds the foundation for greatness. Sacrifice is not punishment. It is an investment. Every sacrifice you make plants a seed, and those seeds grow into a future that average people will never taste. The hardest part is that sacrifice is rarely applauded in the beginning. No one is clapping for you when you are grinding in silence. No one is cheering you on when you are rejecting comfort to chase something only you can see. In fact, most people will criticize you. They will call you obsessed. They will call you unrealistic. They will tell you to relax, to slow down, to be like everyone else. And this is where sacrifice tests you the most, because it forces you to stand alone, to walk a path where validation is absent, to keep going when the crowd is telling you to quit. And if you can endure that, if you can keep sacrificing when the world does not understand, that is when greatness begins to separate you from the rest. Sacrifice also means letting go of identities that no longer serve you, because you cannot step into greatness while holding on to the version of yourself that is addicted to excuses, that is comfortable with mediocrity, that is unwilling to risk. Sacrifice is the shedding of old skin, the painful but necessary release of habits and patterns that keep you stuck. It means you cannot keep living by your old story if you want to write a new one. It means you cannot keep surrounding yourself with people who drain your energy if you want to live at a higher level. It means you cannot keep feeding your doubts if you want to live your dreams. Every legend, every innovator, every person who has ever achieved something extraordinary has paid the price of sacrifice. They gave up sleep, they gave up comfort, they gave up approval, they gave up distractions, and in return, they built something far greater than what they lost. They understood that sacrifice is temporary, but greatness is permanent. That the sting of discipline weighs ounces, but the weight of regret weighs tons. They understood that the pain of sacrifice today will become the pride of accomplishment tomorrow, and they chose that path over and over again until the world could not ignore what they had become. Sacrifice is not glamorous. It is not exciting. It is not something that feels good in the moment, but it transforms you. It forces you to tap into strength you did not know you had. It molds you into someone capable of handling more, of leading more, of creating more. Every time you sacrifice, you prove to yourself that your vision matters more than your excuses, that your purpose matters more than your distractions, that your future matters more than your comfort. And that mindset is what forges greatness, because greatness is not built in the moments of applause. It is built in the moments of sacrifice when no one is watching. The world is full of people who wanted greatness but chose comfort instead, people who had dreams but sacrificed them for distractions, people who had potential but gave it away for temporary pleasures. And those people live with the silent pain of regret, but the ones who chose the opposite path, the ones who sacrificed ease for growth, the ones who sacrificed approval for authenticity, the ones who sacrificed comfort for discipline, those are the ones who taste the fullness of life. Those are the ones who leave a mark. Those are the ones whose names live on because they paid the price that greatness demands. If you are willing to sacrifice, to let go of what holds you back, to embrace the discomfort of growth, to stand alone when necessary, to keep choosing your vision over your excuses, then greatness becomes not just possible but inevitable. Because the truth is, the life you dream about is on the other side of what you are willing to give up today. It's not about what you get, but who you become in the process of chasing your vision. Because the true essence of greatness has never been measured in trophies, money, or applause. Those are fleeting. They fade, they lose meaning once the excitement wears off. The real reward is the transformation that happens inside you as you pursue something bigger than yourself, the person you become while enduring challenges, while pushing through resistance, while refusing to quit. That is the true prize, because no one can take that from you. No circumstance, no setback, no loss. Nothing can strip away the growth that comes from the journey. When you set a goal, when you commit to a vision, at first you might think it's about the achievement, about the destination, but very quickly you realize that the road itself is reshaping you. Every obstacle demands more strength. Every failure teaches more resilience. Every rejection thickens your skin, and slowly you are not the same person who started. The hunger that once drove you begins to create discipline. The fear that once held you back becomes fuel. The doubts that once controlled you become challenges to overcome. And through it all, you build a new identity, one that cannot be shaken by external results because it has been forged in internal growth. This is why so many people who chase external rewards end up empty, because they thought the money or the status would make them feel complete. But without transformation inside, the external rewards are hollow. They feel temporary, like a sugar high that fades quickly. And that is why the untold truth of greatness is that the true victory is not what you accumulate, but who you evolve into. Because while the world applauds the achievement, you live with the transformation. And that is the deepest fulfillment a human being can experience. When you pursue your vision with relentless action, you begin to see that the obstacles are not there to block you. They are there to shape you. Every challenge you face is a mirror reflecting back the weaknesses you must strengthen, the fears you must confront, the skills you must develop. And as you push through them, you realize you are not simply moving closer to your dream. You are becoming a person who can sustain it, because having the dream is one thing, but being the kind of person who can carry it, who can lead it, who can expand it, that is a completely different level. And that is only built through the process of becoming. Think about how many people have achieved success only to lose it quickly because they never grew into someone capable of sustaining it. They got the result but skipped the process, and so the result could not last. But those who endure, those who build greatness that outlives them, they are the ones who embrace the journey of becoming. They understood that every sacrifice, every moment of discomfort, every season of doubt was training them to be bigger, stronger, wiser, more capable. And by the time they achieved their vision, they were not the same person anymore. They had become someone worthy of carrying it. And here's the beauty of it. The person you become matters more than the outcome itself. Because you might lose the money, you might lose the recognition, you might lose the position, but you will never lose the strength, the character, the wisdom, the courage. Those things stay with you forever. They travel with you into every new chapter of life. They allow you to rebuild if everything collapses. They allow you to rise again if you fall. They allow you to create new opportunities if old ones close, because the transformation inside is permanent. It's the one thing no one can take from you. This is why the most powerful question to ask yourself is not, what will I get if I achieve this? But who will I become in the process of pursuing this? Because that question pulls you out of shallow motivation and into deep purpose. It reminds you that the struggle is part of the gift. It reframes failure as growth. It reframes sacrifice as progress. It reframes discipline as freedom. And when you see it this way, you stop resenting the journey and start embracing it. You stop wishing it were easier and start appreciating that it's hard. because you know the difficulty is what forges the version of you who is capable of holding greatness. The people who stop too soon are the ones who think it's only about what they get. They don't realize that the delays, the setbacks, the failures are actually the most important part of the process, because those are the moments that transform you. Those are the moments that separate you from who you were. Those are the moments that strip away weakness and reveal strength. And when you quit early, you rob yourself of the very transformation you were chasing. But when you keep going, when you endure, when you keep rising after every fall, you discover that the real treasure has been the evolution of your character. You might begin your journey chasing a dream, but somewhere along the way, you discover that the dream was simply the spark. The real destination was becoming the person you were meant to be, the person who no longer hides behind excuses, the person who no longer bows to fear, the person who no longer settles for comfort, the person who knows their own power. And when you arrive at that place, you realize that even if no one applauded, even if no one noticed, even if no one validated you, the journey was worth it because of who you became. And that is why greatness is not measured by external rewards, but by internal transformation, not by what you collect, but by who you evolve into, not by the applause of others, but by the respect you build for yourself. Because in the end, the vision you chase will give you more than any tangible result. It will give you yourself, the strongest, boldest, most powerful version of you. And that is the untold truth of achieving greatness.